Something, if you've hung around me very long, you've probably heard me say that if your heart has left something, notify your rear end. If your heart has left something, that is absolutely the time. Because if you hang around, you're only going to do damage to the business. You're only going to do damage to the people you serve. You're only going to do damage to the stakeholders in the business, the employees and the people that count on you. That's happened a time or two, and I'm not suggesting that my heart just left. Sometimes with that experience and age, there were times when my heart became focused on some other things. So part of that too, I think, is when is it time? It's too complicated to say, okay, look for this and then it's time. But when you spend so much time passionate about something else, that's your indication that you have to do that thing. And sometimes there's a necessary ending over here so that there can be that beginning. So I don't know what to answer that question. I think is the more of that you do and the more of that you experience, the more intuitive you get about that. But follow the heart more than the metric. I've had some massive failures. This didn't feel like that. What this felt like is, okay, I'm very proud of what we've done with what we had to do. I'm very proud of how it transitions. I'm grateful for the opportunity that somebody else gets. Grateful for how we did that. It didn't feel like a failure. I learned a couple things in it. So if you're looking at, okay, open a business, close a business, open a business, sell a business, buy a business, sell a business. If you look at it static like that, you can say, okay, we bought and we didn't do what we set out to do, and so we sold, and so that was a failure. But, you know, the relationship that I have out of that one business with a now key employee in my other businesses, that would have never happened. And things that she's gotten to do because of that and the skills that she's gained, like massive success. Even though it wasn't what we were looking for, or even though I didn't take it as far as I thought we could, massive success for a lot of those other reasons. If you want to ask me about the failures, I got them. Yeah, it's like there's nothing, I've never had a complete failure. I might have said complete failure, but I've never had a complete failure. Along the way, I've learned lessons, and those lessons have kept me from having the failures on the other side. Or at least they should have, but no, it didn't feel anything like that. As a matter of fact, anytime that you make intentional decisions, go down a path, follow a plan, and that works out, that's a success. And I got to do that on my terms. I got to do that in a way that I felt good about. So I would say this, there's so many that are good, and there's so many. The Andy Andrews thing is like, it's no doubt, I love Andy Andrews and everything that he's ever written. If I had to pick one of his, it's The Traveler's Gift. I read that book. That's one of the first books that I got my hands on that I said, oh, this is what I need to do. And it was at a time where I was really struggling with some things, and that book unlocked some things for me. Mastering the 7 decisions that were in that book. And the other thing is just like, it's a beautifully written story, so that one's got to be it. You know, I'm somebody of faith, and so there's a book written by a guy named Larry Burkett called Business by the Book, and it takes the wisdom of the Bible, distills it down, and presents it in a way of, okay, use these truths in business, and it's kind of, okay, this is your unfair advantage, this is your secret weapon, you're doing things the way God's prescribed them to be done. And so that's a great book. It's really cool. It's old school, man. It was written probably 30 years ago or more. Risk and return are generally proportionate, and the world's fair that way. Safety, security, certainty, and return are always inversely proportionate. So I would try to have the conversation to understand how the person functions from a risk versus certainty kind of perspective. And I like statistics. So I look at things statistically. What is the greatest probability of success, and what is the highest degree of success in each of these scenarios? So let's just put it real simply. If we're talking about asset classes like business, real estate, stocks and bonds. Let's look at the statistics. Real estate has a pretty high potential for income and return. There's some really cool tax advantages of doing that. But real estate might call you at 2 a.m. in the morning and say, hey, a tree fell through the house. A business is really needy and costly. Real estate has a lot of that built-in cost, and it's got a pretty doggone good return outcome, but the certainty is a little bit lower. And then stocks, and I love owning businesses, but owning stocks is just, you're owning businesses. You're owning the great companies in the United States and across the world, and those are well-funded, they're profitable. I like owning those. And their probability of success is really high. If you take a 5-year time horizon, the market's positive 95% of the time. I like those odds. I'll take those odds all day. But the outcome is here. And with real estate, the outcome is here. And owning a business, the outcome is, but statistically, Bureau of Labor Statistics, somebody fact check me on this and prove me wrong, but most businesses, if you look at the first year, 25% of them close in the first year, 50% in the first 5 years, 66% in 10 years, and 75% in 15 years. Man, what is the first thing people do? They work hard and make a little bit of money. They get out of college, or they work hard and they start making a little bit of money. First thing people do, what is it? They buy a vehicle. And they do that. They're smart. They don't go buy the $60,000 vehicle. They buy the $25,000 vehicle, and in today's world at about 7%, that's a $500 a month payment. Let me answer the question, and then here's the proof of the question. What is the number one money? The number one tip is start thinking like a CEO. Start thinking about your net worth. What's my number? What's my net worth? And the greatest way to destroy net worth is to buy the vehicle. Because here's the thing. You buy the vehicle, you're smart and you only do a $500 a month payment, $500 a month payment on the vehicle. And because you bought a used vehicle, 5 years from now, you got it paid off, you're like, thank God, okay. And then you got 180,000 miles on the thing, and you're like, I'm still working hard, I'm still deserving, I'm gonna get another vehicle. And then you just continue to pump that, right? What's the math on $500 a month? Nothing more, nothing less. What's the math on $500 a month at an average stock market return of about 8.5% over 40 years? It's $2 million. It's $2 million. $500 a month, 8.5% for 40 years is $2 million. Somebody that does that, buys the vehicle, they have taken $2 million away from their net worth, because the cycle continues, right? You buy the vehicle, you run the thing, you do the thing in another 5 years, and the cycle continues. Making that decision to buy that vehicle reduces your net worth by $2 million.